The goat that we are going to be cooking today is quite a tradition among my family, that we normally celebrate Easter Sunday is with a goat. And they're baby goats, milk fed. We have someone on the Mornington Peninsula that actually breeds them. So we cut it up into pieces and then we dust it with some flour and some sweet paprika.
3 parts flour to 1 part paprika. I'm just going to flour off what I'm about to fry, opposed to flouring all of it and then frying it in batches, because by the time I get to the floured stuff at the bottom, it would have sat there for 20 minutes and be all claggy and it's going to all stick to the pan. So I'm just going to flour maybe a dozen pieces, fry them off, come back, flour another dozen, and until they're all done.
And as we seal it and brown it, we put it aside. And then once we've completed that, we actually braise up the vegetables, which is shallot, onions and carrots.
So we've got the pureed garlic, anchovy, tomato paste. Just fry that off for a couple extra minutes. Not for too long because you don't want to burn the garlic. That's beef stock, yep, and some white wine. So we'll just deglaze with the white wine. And let that reduce by half. Starting to get a nice depth of flavour there. With the anchovies, the garlic, the tomato paste, all the nicely sweated vegetables. Sweated down, so they've started to break down and release their natural sweetness. So this is the last stage, is just add in your beef stock. And we'll bring it back to the boil. Aromats are herbs and spices, so these are your herbs. Bay leaves and thyme. So we'll just break up a couple of these to release the flavour. It's a hard herb, so it's not edible. Hard herbs being thyme, rosemary, sage, as is the bay leaves, which we'll remove later as well. So as it's coming up to the boil, I'm just going to skim a little bit of the excess fat off the top. I don't essentially need to take all of it off, but just some, because if you remember at the start, we did add quite a bit to get a nice sort of golden brown when we were frying off the meat. I just use the back of a ladle, just try and push it all to one side. You want to do this before it comes to the boil, because once it's boiling, what it's doing is basically boiling the fat into the sauce. So you want to take it off before it gets to that bubbling stage. Maybe one more time. It's just about to boil now. It's quite a rich flavour of anchovies and garlic, tomato, the beef sauce, as well as all the vegetables, carrots, onions and celery. And as this cooks in the oven, it's just going to reduce down and get more flavoursome and thicker. So I'll just divide this equally over the goat. You want to just cover it. It doesn't need to be completely submerged, because as it's going to cook, the meat's going to break down into the sauce as well. And that's it, that's ready for the oven. So I'm just going to pop a couple of lids on. Just going to pop this in the oven, which I've preheated to 160. I'm going to give that 1.5 hours, and we'll check on it. So it's been 1.5 hours, so we'll check on the goat. Should be nicely braised, the sauce reduced, and most importantly the meat tender. So just check to see that the meat's coming away from the bone nice and easily. Just appears to be there. Yeah. It's ready.
With this dish here, it's a wet dish, which is, call it a stew or a braise. In our terminologies in kitchens, we call them, slow cooking braises, but it's virtually a stew, which takes a good couple of hours to cook. And once it's cooked, we put it on a platter, put it in the centre of the table. We serve it with polenta, some good wines, and it's absolutely delicious.